Get the unmissable news stories of the day.
This is the Beijing Hour.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Shane Bigham with you on this Tuesday, January 27th, 2026. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, coming to you live from the Chinese capital. On today's program, the Chinese president is calling for deeper ties and coordination with Finland after meeting with the visiting prime minister in Beijing. Officials in Iran are warning the U.S. against attack and that a conflict could spread across the wider region. China's envoy to the UN has urged the Japanese prime minister to reflect on and correct statements regarding Taiwan. In business, profits at China's leading industrial firms return to growth. In sports, just 10 days to go until the start of the Winter Olympics in Italy. In culture and entertainment, a famous English choir is on tour in China. Now the day's top stories. Chinese President Xi Jinping has called for deeper cooperation with Finland in energy transition, agriculture, forestry, and innovation. Meeting with Prime Minister Petteri Orpo in Beijing, President Xi said China-Finland friendship and mutual trust are rooted in history. Orpo is the first Finnish Prime Minister to pay an official visit to China in 17 years. President Xi said he believes the visit will lend new impetus to China-Finland cooperation.
建交76年来，无论国际形势如何变化。
Over the past 76 years since the establishment of diplomatic ties, our relationship has stayed on a steady course despite changes in the international landscape. Our relationship is based on mutual respect, equality, and a future-oriented approach and win-win cooperation. I have visited Finland twice before and have fond memories of the visits. China is ready to enhance mutual trust, strengthen exchanges, and deepen cooperation with Finland, advance our respective national development, and deliver greater benefit to our two peoples.
President Xi also welcomed Finnish businesses to China's market and encouraged the two countries to enhance exchanges and cooperation through winter sports. He said China is ready to work with Finland to firmly uphold multilateralism and the international order. President Xi also hopes Finland will play a constructive role in promoting the sound and steady development of China-Europe relations. Prime Minister Orpo said the traditional friendship between Finland and China is profound, and bilateral relations have achieved long-term, stable development.
Mr. President, Your Excellency, I look forward to continuing those discussions on bilateral cooperation between our countries and current discussion on current issues, international issues with you. I had the pleasure of visiting China in 2014 when I served as a Minister of Agriculture, and I am very happy to be back in China.
Orpo said Finnish enterprises have strong interest in cooperation with China. He reaffirmed the country's stance in upholding the One China policy. He said Finland stands ready to strengthen communication and coordination with China to jointly safeguard world peace and stability. And for more about the Finnish Prime Minister's visit to China, Do Hong-yu spoke with Liu Zhichin, a senior fellow at the Chongyang Institute for Financial Studies at Renmin University of China.
What concrete opportunities might open up for Finnish companies in China as Beijing pushes high-quality development and further opening up, and which sectors are likely to benefit most?
I believe that there are so many opportunities for Finnish companies that in China, because as we know that the Finnish companies has no any problem with Chinese partners. So in this we have very good reason and have good experience that to cooperate with each other, especially in some important key elements of the development. For instance, the green technology. So the green technology in Finnish is very high, as we know that we can learn a lot from Finnish companies. As I know, the Finnish companies before years, they had already done very excellent jobs and projects in China, including the pharmaceutical, the water, even the food security and dairy production and all other high technologies. As we know from mobile phone sections, also Finnish companies have very good opportunities and the chances to have further development in China. The most important thing is that Finland and China, both countries have the same development purpose, that is high quality development. That needs the mutual understanding and the mutual support and the mutual trust That's why I think Finnish companies really have very good opportunity in China to expand all cooperations in science, technologies, AI, and even in EV. So in this way, we can be very confident that both countries will have further fruitful cooperation.
And with China stressing partnership over rivalry with Europe, what role could smaller EU member states play in shaping the bloc's China policy?
Yeah, you mentioned the smaller member of EU, but in my opinion, the EU countries, no matter whether it's a small, big power, that they are all very important for China. Also very important to shape the strategies towards China. From the size of population and the territory, I think Finland is small, but its economic power and the technical science research power and in AI, I think is quite high. Even 20 years, 30 years before, we still remember Finnish companies, they have very excellent presentation in China with the high technologies and the high products. So we see that small countries, small nation can play a big role. Nowadays, we know another word is quite very familiar, the middle-sized nations. Now, small nations or big nations, all these nations are equal in the world. That's why China has always adopted a policy that towards all partners, all countries, no matter it's a small or big, will have a close cooperation and a mutual trust to try to build the best world for all nations.
That was Liu Zhiqin from Renmin University of China. And the Finnish Prime Minister's visit to China is drawing attention for what it reveals about how some European countries are recalibrating their approach to China. Yang Chengxi explains.
Europe is at an unusual crossroads. From the Greenland crisis to Washington's on-again, off-again tariff threats, uncertainty is everywhere. European leaders are looking for stability, and that provides the immediate backdrop for Finnish Prime Minister Petteri Orpo's official visit to China this week. But there's another reason this trip is catching observers' eyes, what it reveals about Finland's diplomatic philosophy. In this report, I'll break down 3 key points: what Finland's approach is, why it's gaining relevance today, and how it could shape Helsinki's future relationship with China. First, what is this philosophy? Despite differences with China on certain issues and values, Finland has earned a reputation for pragmatic cooperation, even amid countervailing sentiments in Western circles. Finnish President Alexander Stubb once described it as value-based realism. The concept is resonating internationally. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney even referenced it in a recent speech at the World Economic Forum in Davos.
And our new approach rests on what Alexander Stubb, the President of Finland, has termed value-based realism. Or to put another way, we aim to be both principled and pragmatic.
Carney also visited Beijing earlier this January and returned with a full package of cooperation agreements between Canada and China.
I think Finland has reached out to China, and this kind of idea would translate into more pragmatic approach to diplomacy, to relations with other powers, including China. I think they realize that we live in a world that is very much defined by power dynamics, and they should not follow, these certain major powers in a blind way. And this stance would translate into some new diplomatic approaches, and this is probably what we are witnessing nowadays.
This logic is simple. Active engagement with China builds economic resilience, and this pragmatism, reflected in Prime Minister Orpo's visit, deepens a long-standing bilateral relationship.
Finland
was one of the first Western countries to recognize and establish diplomatic relations with the People's Republic of China. In recent years, under the guidance of the heads of state of the two countries, the future-oriented new type cooperative partnership between China and Finland has been continuously deepened.
Today, China is Finland's largest trading partner in Asia. In 2025, bilateral trade topped $8 billion, while two-way investment exceeded $23 billion.
especially against this recent background of geopolitical turmoils around the world. I think this current visit would be very well situated in this kind of tradition.
Orpo isn't traveling alone. More than 20 Finnish companies are accompanying him, aiming to secure new business deals. Among them is Kone, the Finnish escalator and elevator manufacturer. From our interview, it's clear how their decades-long operations in China have delivered strong returns and growing confidence in future opportunities.
You know, Kone entered China exactly 30 years ago, and through our past, we've seen one of the history's greatest urbanization efforts. For instance, in urban renewal, we talk about delivering modernization solutions exclusively for China to be able to complete, in some cases, a one-week modernization project. Over the last few months, we've seen some massive modernization projects and urban renewal projects happening in China, and we're able to participate and help the ongoing energy consumption reduce by 50% through the use of our escalators and elevators.
Other members of Finland's business delegation tell similar stories. The partnership works because it's structural. China offers a vast market and manufacturing base, while Finland brings cutting-edge technology. Together, these strengths create tangible, mutually beneficial opportunities.
That was Yang Chengshi reporting. Coming up, Iranian officials said the country is capable of defending itself, warning the U.S. against conflict.
Post Plus, a selection of the best podcasts in China, covering history, customs, music, literature, and in-depth dialogues. Find your way to a wealth of Chinese culture and thinking, all on Post Plus.
We're at 12 past the hour. Iran says it has extraordinary capability to defend itself, warning that any war initiated by the U.S. could spread into the wider region. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Esmail Baghaei made the remarks after U.S. officials said an aircraft carrier and supporting warships have arrived in the Middle East.
The countries in the region are aware that insecurity in the region does not solely concern Iran. This sense of insecurity is contagious. Iran is confident in its own capabilities and remembers the experience of the war last June. Iran will respond forcefully to any act of aggression with stronger means than ever before.
Spokesperson added that Iranian forces were closely monitoring any developments. He also said that negotiations are only possible with a side that does not seek war or confrontation. The U.S. Central Command said the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group is in the Indian Ocean. President Donald Trump said that he hoped he would not have to use it. The United Arab Emirates has reaffirmed it'll not allow its airspace, territory, or waters to be used in any military actions against Iran. The Israeli military says it's recovered the remains of the last remaining hostage in Gaza. The man has been identified as Israeli police officer Ran Gavili. The return of all remaining Israeli hostages was part of the first phase of the Gaza ceasefire. Jonathan Regev reports from Tel Aviv.
After inspecting hundreds of bodies, finally the body of Ran Gvili has been identified. Defense Minister Israel Katz, who said we promised to bring them back, and we delivered. All of the hostages are back. And it has to be said that this issue of the hostages was tearing apart the Israeli society for more than 2 years now. So many conflicts regarding this issue of the hostages. It was said that until this issue is resolved, the Israeli society will not be able to recover from those October 7th attacks. Now, all of the hostages are back. Now the Israeli society maybe is ready for reconciliation. Israel said that the Rafah border crossing will be opened, but only for the passage of people, not for goods at this time. Also making sure that it's for both ways, not only into Gaza, but also outside of Gaza. And perhaps the most important point for Israel, those entering into Gaza will go under Israeli supervision. These are the demands of Israel. It is unclear how the other side, how Hamas, will react to that, because it means that everything coming through the crossing will have to be inspected by Israel. These are the conditions. These are the conditions which were set by the Security Cabinet last night. Of course, another condition was that all of the efforts will be done to find the final body. Now we know it has already happened. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, speaking shortly after the announcement regarding the fact that the body was found, said in the Israeli parliament, the Knesset, that the next stage is the disarmament of Hamas, way before any reconciliation reconstruction. So yes, all of the hostages are back, and there is an agreement, there is an understanding that the Rafah border will be open. I think we can expect plenty of discussions and disagreements between the sides regarding the conditions. But of course, how much can Israel say no to American demands? We will have to wait and see. But some kind of a reopening of the Rafah border crossing, I think we can expect later this week.
That was Jonathan Regev reporting. UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric says the UN welcomes reports of the recovery of the remains of the last Israeli hostage in Gaza and calls for the full implementation of the ceasefire arrangements.
The full implementation of the ceasefire arrangements in Gaza is absolutely critical. And as you recall, from day one, the Secretary General and the rest of the UN leadership had been calling for the immediate and unconditional release of all those being held as hostages in Gaza. The Secretary General urges all parties to move forward in good faith and without delay, with subsequent phases, facilitated, sustained, and unhindered humanitarian access, including through the Rafah crossing, and uphold international humanitarian law.
The return of all remaining hostages, living or dead, had been a key part of the Gaza ceasefire's first phase. The upcoming phase will confront issues including transitioning to a new governance structure in Gaza and disarming Hamas. Although a new ceasefire phase in Gaza is approaching, more Israeli bombardments have killed several Palestinians across the Strip. Rami Amagari reports from Gaza.
Actually, the situation on the ground is still the escalation by the Israeli army over different parts of the Gaza Strip, including latest when Israeli army actually targeted the eastern parts of the Deir al-Balah town, Abu Lajin area, where 2 Palestinians were killed, one in that area and another in the Liberation refugee camp to the north of this particular area of the Gaza Strip, actually to the east of the Gaza Strip, and also other people have been injured because of the drone operations that Israeli army had launched. Also bombardments of many homes actually in eastern parts of the Gaza Strip. And this comes against the backdrop of the news that Israeli army had retrieved the last dead body of the last actually Israeli hostage remaining in the Gaza Strip. But according to statements by the Israeli army and other local sources, more than 150 tombstones of Palestinians have been dug because of due to the operations for the search of the Israeli hostage. That is actually the situation on the ground, signaling the start of the second phase of the ceasefire between Palestinians and Israelis, beginning with the reopening of the Rafah crossing terminal, possibly by the end of this week.
That was Rami Amagari reporting. Coming up, China's top envoy at the UN calls on Japan to correct statements regarding the Taiwan region.
Discover the realities and responses to our changing climate with Climate Watch. Uncover critical issues such as the Masai Mara's disrupted wildebeest migration and the drop in the Panama Canal's water levels. Delve into solutions for a sustainable future. Tune in to Climate Watch on your favorite podcast platform. Become more eco-conscious and take action to protect our planet.
19 past the hour. China's permanent representative to the UN has urged Japan to reflect on and correct Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi's remarks on the Taiwan region. Futsong made the call in New York at a UN Security Council open debate on international rule of law.
The return of Taiwan to China is a victorious outcome of the World Anti-Fascist War and a crucial component of international order in the post-World War II era. This ironclad fact has been firmly secured from historical, political, and legal perspectives. Takaichi's fallacies grossly interfere in China's internal affairs, renounce Japan's international obligations as a defeated nation, openly challenge the international order based on international law, and severely violate the fundamental norms of international relations grounded in the purposes and principles of the UN Charter. We urge Japan to face history squarely, reflect on and correct its mistakes, and provide a responsible account to the international community through concrete actions.
Takaichi claimed in November that a military conflict over Taiwan could be a survival-threatening situation for Japan, warranting the exercise of collective self-defense rights. Her remarks have faced strong criticism globally and domestically. The festive spirit ahead of the Year of the Horse is boosting consumer spending across China. From creative artworks to traditional crafts, horse-themed products are driving demand. Gao Junye has more.
With the Chinese New Year approaching, horse-themed goods are firmly in the spotlight. Shoppers are browsing toys, calendars, and decorations, while workshops across the country are working overtime to meet rising demand. In the southern province of Guangdong, artist Ma Ke is showcasing his horse-themed prints to customers. He says interest in horse-related products is strong.
In Chinese culture, the horse is a very lucky symbol. People really enjoy talking about the meaning behind the art.
The horse symbolizes vitality, strength, and success. Ma says the response has been encouraging.
I sell them at markets and online, and I've already sold dozens. Many people say they see themselves in the paintings. They reflect hopes for a better future.
Gold jewelry featuring horse designs is also selling briskly. A sales associate in Shanxi province, northern China, says demand has exceeded expectations.
Customers prefer lighter pieces under 10 grams. We offer around 20 Year of the Horse designs, and sales have doubled or even tripled compared to last month.
Rising demand is pushing manufacturers to increase production. In Yiwu, known as the world's largest small commodity market, toy company executive Zhu Lian says factories are speeding up to keep pace.
We've already received orders for 200,000 sets, all to be delivered before the Spring Festival. Our factory is working overtime to meet demand.
In recent years, spending tied to the Chinese zodiac has continued to grow. From markets to factories, zodiac-themed products are turning cultural symbols into real economic activity. By choosing items filled with blessings and good wishes, consumers are seeking not just products, but comfort and hope for the year ahead. For the Beijing Hour, this is Gao Junye.
Senior U.S. Border Patrol official Gregory Bavino and some of his agents are set to leave Minneapolis, and it comes after President Donald Trump announced he was dispatching White House Border Chief Tom Homan to the city after Saturday's fatal shooting of nurse Alex Petteri. Dan Williams reports from Minneapolis.
Minnesota governor, he has spoken with the U.S. President Donald Trump on the phone, and Walt's saying in his readout that Trump has agreed to consider reducing the number of federal agents here in Minnesota. Of course, that's just to consider that. But Trump himself also describing it as a good call. Waltz has also said that Trump will also talk to Homeland Security in terms of getting access in terms of the investigation following the death of Alex Petteri here. That's, of course, around the concerns that state authorities here were not getting, that they were getting blocked in terms of their own investigation.
That our state has every right to have our own laws, have our own policies, and that the federal government doesn't have any right to try to flood us, threaten us with retribution, and to coerce the state of Minnesota into complying with Trump policy.
That Tom Homan, the border SAR, are being dispatched here, taking control of Operation Metro Surge. Now, even some Republican lawmakers are giving their reaction to that and saying that they welcome that and they're hoping that that will help in some way to lower the temperatures here. Federal court cases also taking place. One looking to block the surge in the number of immigration agents that are here as part of Operation Metro Surge. We've just been seeing this procession of people coming here, laying flowers, lighting candles, writing messages. There is also taking place protests as well, people, thousands marching in the streets through Minneapolis. Now, there's also been further political fallout as well, with the top Republican candidate for governor, Chris Medell, here, deciding to drop out of the race for the Minnesota governorship, saying, "I cannot support the stated retribution of the citizens of our state." That fallout continuing, and we expect further developments, certainly in terms of those court cases, throughout the day.
That was Dan Williams reporting. Authorities are investigating the deadly attack that killed 11 people and injured 12 others on a football field in central Mexico. The attack took place in the municipality of Salamanca, in the state with the highest number of homicides in the country. Salamanca Mayor Cesar Prieto described the incident as part of a wave of violence.
We are going through grave times with a severe social breakdown. Unfortunately, there are criminal groups trying to undermine authority, something they will not achieve.
The killing also came a few months before the start of the FIFA World Cup, which Mexico is co-hosting with Canada and the United States. The state governor said on X that security in the region has been reinforced with state and federal forces. The U.S. is officially withdrawing from the Paris Climate Agreement, marking the second time in 8 years that Washington has stepped away from that landmark deal. The decision is deepening divisions between the federal government and climate-active states like California. Edith Tianchen has more from Los Angeles.
As of early 2026, roughly 7 in 10 Americans acknowledge global warming is happening, with a record high 48% viewing it as a serious personal threat. But U.S. President Donald Trump ran a re-election campaign on reviving the oil industry, and he's withdrawn from the Paris Agreement once again upon taking office for a second term.
The Trump administration does not represent the American people on climate. They are doing political work for the fossil fuel industry, and the public very much supports climate action.
Just this month, U.S. has initiated the withdrawal process from the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, citing reasons that these organizations no longer serve U.S. interests and advance hostile agendas. But the move hasn't prevented states like California from following through with the climate commitments.
California is the 4th largest economy in the world, $4.1 trillion a year economy. In 2025, we've run the 4th largest economy in the world on 100% clean energy.
Governor Gavin Newsom attended last year's climate summit in Brazil to reassure international partners on continued cooperation.
I want you to know California is a stable and reliable partner. We are doubling down on this agenda. Folks in Washington, D.C., they may come and go. California's commitment is strong, and we're in this for the long haul. Donald Trump is temporary.
At a time when the federal government has been rolling back virtually all previous climate commitments, California has moved in the opposite direction. 2/3 of the state's electricity now comes from clean, zero-carbon sources. Climate pollution is falling even as the economy grows, and nearly 2 million zero-emission vehicles are now on California's roads. And finally, billions from the Cap and Invest program are funding clean energy and climate resilience programs. So Washington's rollbacks on climate policies aren't necessarily taking away from local efforts, but many agree that they are undercutting international progress in the fight against climate change.
That was Edith Tianchen reporting. We're at 29 minutes past the hour. Checking the forecast ahead of the break. Beijing will be cloudy. It's down to -6 this evening. Cloudy and +1 on Wednesday. Nanchang's cloudy overnight, and tomorrow a low of 4 and a high of 11. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad's getting a light rainfall this evening. It's down to 4 degrees. That's followed by cloudy conditions and 14 for Wednesday. And Vientiane will be cloudy and 17, and then a high of 28 on Wednesday. Phnom Penh's overcast and 20 overnight, then cloudy and 32. In Africa, Nairobi's getting overcast conditions and 27 degrees on Wednesday. Kampala will see moderate rainfall this evening. It's down to 19, followed by a light rain and 27. Juba's overcast and 27 overnight, while tomorrow is cloudy and 39 degrees. And finally to Oceania, Port Vila will see moderate rainfall and 23 this evening, followed by a light rain and 29. It's time for a short break. So far this hour, the Chinese president is calling for deeper ties and coordination with Finland after meeting with the visiting prime minister in Beijing. Officials in Iran are warning the U.S. against attack and that a conflict could spread across the wider region. China's envoy to the UN has urged the Japanese prime minister to reflect on and correct statements regarding Taiwan. Shane Bigham with you. Stay with us here on the Beijing Hour.
Shh, listen up. Can you hear the heartbeat of our world? It's vibrant and pulsating with the essence of life itself. From the stem of trees to the gurgle of rivers, from the silent strength of mountains to the icy whispers of glaciers, even the solid ground beneath our feet. And right there, in the midst of all, beats the heart of humanity. What if those other heartbeats were to stop? Would ours keep on ticking?
Ever wondered what's actually going on in Africa through the perspective of an African? How are things really going between China and Africa? What's the narrative of this relationship? Well, get a perspective with China-Africa Talk. Hear from African diplomats, entrepreneurs, academics, Chinese natives, and more. Get on our wavelength every week to find out what's real with China-Africa Talk. Find us on your favorite podcast. We'll see you there.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host,
Shane Bigham with you on this Tuesday. Still to come. In business, profits at China's leading industrial firms return to growth. In sports, just 10 days to go until the start of the Winter Olympics in Italy. In culture and entertainment, famous English choir is on tour in China. To contact us, you can email radio@cgtn.com or follow our X account @CGTNradio. But now at the check of the day's headlines, here's Do Hongyu.
Thank you, Shane. Chinese President Xi Jinping has called for deeper cooperation with Finland in energy transition, agriculture, forestry, and innovation. Meeting with Prime Minister Petteri Orpo in Beijing, President Xi said China-Finland friendship and mutual trust are rooted in history. Orpo is the first Finnish prime minister to pay an official visit to China in 17 years. President Xi said he believes the visit will lend new impetus to China-Finland cooperation. President Xi also welcomed Finnish businesses to China's market and encouraged the two countries to enhance exchanges and cooperation through winter sports. He said China is ready to work with Finland to firmly uphold multilateralism and the international order. President Xi also hopes Finland will play a constructive role in promoting the sound and steady development of China-Europe relations. Prime Minister Orpo said the traditional friendship between Finland and China is profound, and bilateral relations have achieved long-term stable development. Orpo said Finnish enterprises have strong interest in cooperation with China. He reaffirmed the country's stance in upholding the One China policy. He said Finland stands ready to strengthen communication and coordination with China to jointly safeguard world peace and stability. China's foreign ministry says British Prime Minister Keir Starmer will visit China from Wednesday to Saturday. Spokesperson Guo Jiakun says both sides will use the trip to deepen cooperation and bring real benefits to people in both countries.
Amid a complex and volatile international landscape, it serves the shared interests of both peoples and contributes to global peace, stability and development if China and the United Kingdom, as permanent members of the UN Security Council, can maintain communication and strengthen cooperation. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's visit marks the first trip to China by a British Prime Minister in 8 years. During the visit, President Xi Jinping will meet with him, while Premier Li Qiang and NPC Standing Committee Chairman Zhao Leji will hold separate talks and meetings, engaging in in-depth exchanges on bilateral relations and issues of common concern.
It's the first visit by a British Prime Minister in 8 years. Starmer will bring leaders from more than 50 major UK firms across finance, pharma, manufacturing, culture and creative industries. China's Commerce Ministry says it'll work with the UK to build a fair and transparent business environment. A Chinese military spokesperson has criticized the Philippines for disrupting peace and stability in the South China Sea, accusing it of co-opting countries outside the region to organize so-called joint patrols. The spokesperson said the Navy of the People's Liberation Army Southern Theater Command conducted a routine patrol in the South China Sea on Sunday and Monday. The spokesperson said the Theater Command forces will safeguard national territorial sovereignty and maritime rights and interests, and firmly uphold regional peace and stability. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has called on member states to recommit themselves to the full respect of international law. He says the Security Council stands alone in its authority to act on behalf of all member states on questions of peace and security.
The Security Council alone adopts decisions binding on all. No other body or ad hoc coalition can legally require all member states to comply with decisions on peace and security. Only the Security Council can authorize the use of force under international law as set out in the Charter.
Guterres warned that the law of the jungle is replacing the rule of law. He stressed that global problems can only be solved by wielding not the weapons of war, but the tools of diplomacy, supported by a system based on international law. UN agencies have reported that there are signs that the ceasefire in Gaza is making a difference in the lives of over 1 million children. Deputy Executive Director Ted Chaiban of the UN Children's Fund explains.
More truckloads of life-saving aid are entering Gaza, albeit not yet sufficiently to meet the magnitude of needs. Commercial goods have reappeared in markets. We saw vegetables, fruits, chicken, eggs. The food security situation has improved and famine has been reversed. Recreational kits designed to help children heal and deal with their stress and trauma have finally started to reach children who have not played freely in over 2 years.
Meanwhile, he warned that the situation continues to be extremely precarious and deadly for many children.
Well, thank you very much. That's Do Hong Yu with headlines. Coming up in business, profits at China's leading industrial firms return to growth.
The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
37 past the hour. Stock markets on the Chinese mainland edged higher on Tuesday. The Shanghai Composite gained around 0.2%, while the Shenzhen Component rose by around 0.1%. Stocks related to precious metals and semiconductors led the gainers, while shares in the coal mining and processing sectors suffered major losses. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index surged nearly 1.4%. Tokyo stocks also closed higher, with the Nikkei rising almost 0.9%. Profits for China's major industrial firms rose in 2025, marking their first annual increase since 2021. Official data shows that surveyed firms saw profits grow by 0.6%, reaching nearly 7.4 trillion yuan. The equipment manufacturing sector experienced a 7.7% increase in profits, contributing 2.8 points to overall industrial profit growth. Profits in high-tech manufacturing surged over 13%. With more, Lily Liu spoke with senior fellow Liu Zhiqin from Renmin University of China.
We just saw the total profit number, which recorded a growth in 2025. But beyond that, which key financial metrics do you think best reflect the quality value of China's high-quality industrial development?
From the information or figures you have already mentioned, we see that the industrial profit in China has already greatly improved last year because of two reasons. One is that the domestic market has been well managed, well improved with the financial policies. As we know, the central government has issued a series of financial policies and measures that are very effective to support and target-oriented. So that's why all these manufacturing powers in China and the factories and also for the new key element of this manufacturers have been well supported financially. And secondly, is also that China has already tried to upgrade the unification or unified market of the whole domestic market. That makes greater boost for the financial support with the manufacturing effect. As we know, the manufacturing is always based on the market demand. So in this way, we find that domestic market demand has been a little bit increased or improved last year. That's why we have already the profit increase.
So how do you think the integration of large AI models and digital transformation will help to boost China's industrial competitiveness in the global supply chains?
So actually, from technical point, we see the AI large model, the relations with the bigger profit or bigger manufacturing basis still have a little bit distant, because AI larger scale cannot be transformed or translated immediately into the real economy. That needs something extra effort. For instance, financial support and more the scenario, the practicing effectiveness. So without this practicing effectiveness, that the AI large model cannot be implemented or utilized by the normal entrepreneurs or the factories, cannot be translated to be productivity, especially to the high quality productivity. So AI large model is one thing, and the other part is another thing. The both sides should be well integrated with some good combination, coordination, and cooperation. But especially from practical sides, we see that the more scenario or the more practicing efforts will be focusing by the government and also by the market.
That was Liu Zhiqin from Renmin University of China. China's tax authorities say the country's consumer market maintained robust momentum in 2025, with strong demand across diverse sectors. Overseas visitors claiming tax refunds rose by over 300%, while eligible sales and total refunds each nearly doubled. The Consumer Goods Trade-in Program drove growth in home appliances, kitchenware, and telecom devices. Sales from artistic performances rose by over 17%, and integrated cultural tourism boosted travel services, scenic spots, and leisure activities. Health-related consumption continued to be a key growth driver. Sales from sports events and exhibition services grew by 12%. Spending in the silver economy gathered pace, with elderly care services rising by 25%. China's service consumption showed robust growth momentum, with emerging new models and scenarios in 2025. Vice Commerce Minister Yan Dong highlighted the characteristics in the government's adoption of supportive measures.
In 2025, service consumption characterized by high frequency, strong multiplier effects, and sustainable growth played a vital role in expanding domestic demand and improving the people's well-being. The Ministry of Commerce, in earnest implementation of the relevant decisions of the Communist Party of China Central Committee and State Council, and bringing into play its role as the leading department for service consumption, worked with other competent central government authorities to introduce support policies, innovate consumption scenarios, and build platforms and carriers to promote prosperous development of the service consumption market.
We outlined three key drivers behind the rapid growth of service consumption in China, stressing a 5.5% increase in service-related sales. Yan emphasized the rapid expansion across several key sectors, including culture, sports, leisure, communications, and information. The vice minister also underscored the growing vibrancy of the services market, driven by new trends and models. As China's stock market continues to rebound, international investors are increasingly recognizing the country's strong development prospects. Many have announced plans to maintain an overweight allocation to Chinese assets in 2026, with a focus on long-term investment. President Wen Tianne of Hong Kong Boda Capital International said the steady improvement in corporate fundamentals is a key driver behind the positive outlook from foreign investors.
In the past, markets mainly focused on relative valuation attractiveness. Now more and more companies are proving themselves through earnings performance and cash flow. We see continuous improvements in Chinese firms' capabilities in research and development investment, product iteration, and global expansion. Innovation is no longer just about scaling up, but increasingly about efficiency and quality.
Ongoing innovation in Chinese enterprises, along with supportive government policies, is enhancing the global appeal of Chinese assets. Investment in the AI industrial chain has emerged as a broad consensus. China will release a policy to address the impacts of artificial intelligence on employment as part of efforts to stabilize and expand the labor market. The policy will manage AI disruptions while promoting job creation, with a focus on key industries and support for college graduates. Authorities prioritize graduate employment due to shifts caused by technology and economic challenges. The initiative is part of a broader strategy to strengthen long-term employment stability. Measures include unifying urban and rural employment systems to improve mobility and reduce regional disparities. Reverse Spring Festival travel has become a growing trend in China, with a significant rise in flight bookings. This year, many Chinese families are choosing reverse reunions, where parents visit their children's homes instead of the traditional journey back to hometowns. Online travel platforms have reported a 35% increase in reverse travel bookings since January. Airlines and travel agencies have launched the Parent Safe travel program, offering personalized assistance for passengers aged 55 and above. Train stations in many cities have also upgraded their services to ensure smoother reunions. The shift is reshaping how Chinese families experience the holiday season. China's chain supermarkets and convenience stores showed steady improvement in 2025. China Chain Store and Franchise Association said that 50% of surveyed companies saw sales growth, while 46% saw profit increases. Standard and community supermarkets outperformed the larger format stores. Over half of outlets reported rising customer traffic and online sales, with 72% seeing higher online revenue. Many companies upgraded stores to enhance customer experience, with over 90% achieving performance growth. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in sports, just 10 days to go until the start of the Winter Olympics in Italy.
Sideline Story brings you all things sports related. The hottest topics, latest events, juiciest stories, all with a very personal take. Subscribe to Sideline Story Podcast for heated sports discussions covering events that are happening in China and around the world.
47 past now and turning to sports. Here's Yang Guang.
Thank you, Shane. With just 10 days to go until the Milan Cortina Winter Olympics, China has announced its biggest delegation ever for an overseas Winter Games. The 286 members include 126 athletes. Two-time freestyle skiing Olympic champion Gu Ailin and snowboarding Olympic champion Su Yimin will lead the Chinese team. They will be joined by veterans such as short-track speed skater Fan Kexin, freestyle skier Xu Mengtao, and the figure skating pair Sui Wenjing and Han Cong, all gold medalists on home and ice and snow at Beijing 2022. China won 15 medals, including 9 golds, during the Games 4 years ago. 41-year-old Xu Xiaomin, as the oldest in the squad, helped China beat Japan in the Olympic playoffs late last year to qualify for men's curling in Milan. China freestyle skiing aerials coach Ji Dong said the athletes are in good physical condition and ready for the Games.
Our athletes are now in good physical condition and have strong desire to compete. They polished their skills through the recent World Cup events and are basically ready for the Winter Games. They are now adjusting to the competition system, venues, and complex situations of the Olympic Games.
The Games will take place from February 6th to 22nd, featuring 116 events across 16 disciplines. The Olympic torch relay has reached the co-host town of Cortina. The arrival coincided with the 70th anniversary of the opening of the 1956 Winter Games in the Italian town. Cortina will be in the global spotlight next month, when it and Milan provide main bases for the Winter Olympics. It will stage the women's alpine skiing, bobsleigh, luge, and skeleton at the new Eugenio Monti Sliding Center, as well as curling. The town has a resident population of around only 5,000 people, but has been a popular destination for well-heeled skiers for generations. The main press center in Milan is ready to open to the media ahead of the Winter Games. The MPC is located at Allianz Mikol, a venue that is home to the most important Italian and international events. Facilities such as restaurants, banks, and laundry services are already operational. The International Broadcast Center is responsible for serving broadcasters from television and social media platforms. It acts as the hub for collection, production, and distribution of event television signals and news programs. More than 15 world-famous television media outlets, including China Media Group, NBC Universal from the United States, and BBC from the United Kingdom, have established workspaces there. The Olympic Council of Asia has elected Sheikh Juan bin Hamad Al Thani as its new president. The Qatari Olympic Committee president was the sole candidate. Sheikh Juan described Asia as the largest and most diverse continent within the Olympic family, adding that diversity is its greatest strength. The OCA decided last July to hold a presidential election at next General Assembly for the remainder of the term through 2028. That was due to the continued ill health of the incumbent president at the time, Raja Radia Singh. The International Skating Union has announced the appointment of Ruth Trevelyan as head of athlete welfare and sustainability. This is the first such role among international sport federations. The ISU says the move reflects its commitment to put athletes first by providing support not only in performance but also in health, protection and long-term development. Trevelyan has worked with International Equestrian Federation, Equestrian Australia and Rowing Australia. She will lead ISU's athlete welfare and protection programs, supporting skaters' physical and mental well-being, as well as education and career transitions. And finally, in tennis, world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka defied sweltering heat in Melbourne to overwhelm teenager Iva Jovic in the quarterfinals of the Australian Open. Sabalenka took another step toward reclaiming the title she won at Melbourne Park in 2023 and 24. Earlier, the second seed Iga Swiatek continued her quest to complete a career Grand Slam with another dominant outing. The Pole dropped just 3 games against Australian qualifier Madison Inglis to reach the quarterfinals. Swiatek has reached her 6th consecutive major quarterfinal, where she will meet 5th-seeded Elena Rybakina. Swiatek leads their head-to-head record at 6-5, but Rybakina won their only previous Aussie Open meeting in 2023. Swiatek said every match against Rybakina is a different story. And on the men's side, 2-time defending champion Jannik Sinner cooled concerns about his heat tolerance as he breezed to a straight sets win over fellow Italian Luciano Darderi to reach his 4th straight quarter-final. Next up for the 24-year-old is 8th-seeded American Ben Shelton for a place in the semi-finals.
Thank you very much. That's Yang Guang with sports. Coming up in culture and entertainment, a famous English choir is on tour in China.
From north to south, east to west, people in China are chasing their dreams and leaving their mark. Want to know how they beat the odds and made a difference? Footprints brings you the true life stories of their journeys.
52 past now, and turning to culture and entertainment. Music that's echoed through English chapels for more than 6 centuries is now resonating with Chinese audiences. One of Britain's oldest choral institutions, the Choir of New College, Oxford, has made its China debut, bringing a program that bridges eras, genres, and cultures. Zheng Hong reports from Shanghai.
Chinese Melodies concluded a concert by one of England's oldest choirs. The Choir of New College, Oxford made its China debut in Shanghai, with another performance staged in Beijing 3 days later. For this tour, the program moves across styles and eras.
Our tradition is mostly of singing religious music, so the program that we're singing is all of non-religious music. What I've tried to do is make a program that has musical styles very much like the music that we sing every day, but is right for this audience, and so there's some variety. It's mostly by composers from England and the British Isles. Shanghai is a perfect place to come and bring our cultural heritage here, I think.
I'm really excited about the experience of visiting China because I've never been before, and getting to sing in such amazing venues like the Symphony Hall behind us. I quite like the ABBA songs that we're doing, and I also really like the Chinese folk songs that we're singing. We've never sung anything like it before.
Founded in 1379, the Choir of New College, Oxford represents more than 6 centuries of uninterrupted English choral tradition. Its distinctive blend of boy choristers and adult singers has shaped the sound of British collegiate choirs and continues to resonate far beyond Oxford.
The choir is made up of 3 different groups of people. We've got boy choristers, we've got current undergraduate students, known as academical clerks, and then you've got lay clerks who are older professional singers. We're all learning from each other every day in the music that we do. It's really fascinating for us to come because it is a very different cultural and musical setup you've got here. We're going out of our comfort zone, and hopefully we might make the audiences do the same, and that will be really fascinating.
The choir is not just a musical ensemble, but a living link between past and present.
That was Zheng Hong reporting. A new cultural landmark is opened high above one of Shanghai's busiest shopping streets, signaling a fresh chapter for musical theater in the city. New World City recently unveiled 12F Musical Town, a 7,000 square meter venue at its landmark complex on Nanjing Road. Featuring 8 small theaters, the managers bill it as China's first musical exploration park, offering audiences an immersive, all-in-one theater experience. Senior executives of Shanghai New World City say the project marks a shift from a retail-focused area toward a more culturally enriched destination. Since opening in 1995, New World City has stood as a commercial landmark, housing shopping malls, restaurants, a hotel, and Madame Tussauds Shanghai. At Musical Town, visitors can watch performances, enjoy food, meet the actors, and learn about musical theater. The project also has an educational mission. Through collaborations with universities, Musical Town will provide teachers and students with platforms for professional practice and academic exchange. A towering mythical creature has become the latest cultural highlight in Beijing's Dongcheng district. Towering over 2.8 meters, the wood carving is now on display at the 700-year-old Hong'an Temple. In Chinese mythology, the Longma, or dragon horse, is a winged beast covered in dragon scales, symbolizing vitality and progress. The sculpture serves as the centerpiece of Gallop Forward, a wood carving exhibition celebrating the year of the horse. Renowned artist Huang Wangwang created the work. Known for combining traditional craftsmanship with bold contemporary forms, Huang has become one of the most influential figures in modern Chinese wood carving. Running until March 15th and open to the public free of charge, the exhibition presents several of Huang's large-scale works inspired by Chinese mythology and folklore. The show also features Huang's Zodiac Animal series, which reimagines the 12 zodiac signs as sleek, designer-style art toys. The collection reflects the artist's goal of making traditional crafts resonate with younger, modern audiences. We're at 57 past the hour. Checking the forecast before we go. In Beijing's cloudy overnight. It's down to -6. Wednesday's cloudy and +1. Nanchang will be cloudy tonight and tomorrow, a low of 4, a high of 11. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad's getting a light rainfall and a low of 4 this evening. Wednesday is cloudy and 14. Vientiane will be cloudy. It's down to 17 overnight and 28 degrees on Wednesday. Phnom Penh will be overcast and 20 overnight, then cloudy and 32. In Africa, Nairobi is getting overcast conditions and 27 degrees on Wednesday. Kampala will see moderate rainfall and a low of 19, followed by a light rain with a high of 27 degrees Celsius. And that's it for this edition of the Beijing Hour. Making news today, the Chinese president's calling for deeper ties and coordination with Finland after meeting with the visiting prime minister in Beijing. And officials in Iran are warning the U.S. against attack and that a conflict could spread across the wider region if it happens. On behalf of the staff, this is Shane Bigham in the Chinese capital, hoping you'll join us for the next edition of the Beijing Hour and open a window to the world together.
Find the Beijing Hour at precisely 6 p.m. Beijing time. We meet you on podcast and on air every weekday. The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
He can't live without the Yellow River in his eyes.
The Yellow River is so noble and elegant.
Both my grandpa and dad made a living from the river.
Would you like to move away from the Yellow River?
I don't think I will. I love it so much.
The Yellow River, the second longest river in China, is regarded as a shaping force in the history, economy, and culture of northern China. Today, about 100 million people live within its water basin, making up nearly 9% of the country's population. How is climate change felt at its headwaters, and what are the locals doing to cope with it? What are the descendants of the boatmen doing? What has kept some people from leaving their home village by the river, and what has drawn others back? Could the fading fishing community revive in a time of digital transformation? From 2021 to 2024, our reporters visited the upper, middle, and lower reaches of the Yellow River, talked to the herders, farmers, boatmen, fishermen, and eco-activists who share a close bond with the river, and present their stories in pictures, podcasts, and videos, all in our 12-part series, The Yellow River Mosaic, available only on CGTN Radio